This presentation, titled Emerging Remote Auditing Practices That Apply to Food Safety, comes to us from Dijana Green. Dijana has worked in the food industry for 29 years and carries a reputable background in leading quality and food safety within the industry. She is a food technologist and holds positions such as an executive member of the Australian Society Baking Committee and a manufacturing representative on the Silica board. Dijana is also an international auditor, consultant, trainer, and recently became a contract auditor for Jazz Hands. She started her food safety career in 1989 with George Weston Foods. Her responsibilities over the years have ranged from quality through to National Quality Assurance Manager, Baking Division, for Goodman Fielder, managing 44 bakeries nationally. These roles were very hands-on, both operationally and commercially. Dijana founded Elevating Food Safety Limited in March 2009. Elevating Food Safety is one of Australia's most trusted companies in the food and beverage industry, serving as a one-stop technical service, working with manufacturers, retailers, food service, hotels, quick service restaurants, event companies, restaurants, warehouses, and distribution networks. Elevating Food Safety works with hundreds of clients ranging from low, medium, to high-risk facilities. Elevating Food Safety provides services including quality and food safety systems, including gap and benchmarking audits, nutritional services, process improvement, quality and food safety boutique training, and recruitment of quality, operational, and executive professionals within Australia, Fiji, New Zealand, and the entirety of Asia. And with that, take it away, Dijana.
Thank you, and greetings from Sydney, Australia. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I hope you'll get some good tools and tips from my presentation. So what I'm going to talk about in the next 20-30 minutes is the hottest topic we have now, remote audits, remote online audits. Are they working? Are they not working? And here are some reasons why I think we should be conducting remote audits. Just before we start, if we think back to what's happened in March, don't think anyone's going to forget with COVID-19, very quickly our world had changed, our life had changed personally, and what we were used to doing every day had stopped. And we had to quickly find ways of doing business and operating. So this brings me to the point of when we are dealing with a global crisis, how do we meet an organisation's corporate policy when auditors are not allowed on site, or auditors are not allowed to travel, or auditors cannot travel? How do we quickly reposition ourselves to ensure that food safety audits continue when there is a crisis? And how do we avoid a significant build-up of supplier audits that are all due at the same time once the crisis has finished? Travel restrictions can be a result of a local, national, or government restriction. Other reasons remote audits would apply would be based on auditor safety. Could be that the organisation is isolated, might be difficult to get to, or there's no transport available to get to the facility. There could also be restrictions due to location, race, sex, religion, or political unrest. Having good reception, a quiet location, and a background with no distraction, remote audits can be conducted successfully and within a reasonable time frame. As an auditor, you can't allow distractions to be present, distracting the auditee. You need to make sure that your location is quiet, you have a white background, and that you are constantly mindful of how you're sitting, how you're touching your hair, flinching, touching your face. You have to make sure that you're not doing things that are distracting the auditee. Okay, and remote online audits can also be designed to meet specific requirements of either party. Business critical requirements, they need to continue, and food safety audits are essential, especially when the world practically comes to a standstill and food and beverage manufacturers continue to manufacture. What we saw during the period of COVID restrictions and the shutdowns is that most businesses had to close, most businesses couldn't stay afloat. But food factories were allowed to operate, and food factories were working at 2-3 times greater the pace that we normally do to be able to get the food out to the supermarkets. we were all allowed to go to the supermarkets to buy our food. So obviously the shelves had to be stocked, and with panic buying, there were some shortfalls in the system, but the food factories were allowed to keep manufacturing. So all the more reason that audits need to continue when you're doubling or tripling your production rate. You still need to be confident the food safety standards are being met and that they're being complied to, even when there's such a pandemic going on. And we need a quick response to be able to continue auditing. We need to adapt to what's happening in the environment and to be able to pull through. Remote audits can be very effective, especially if it's carried out by an experienced auditor. Security of a remote audit can be assured and guaranteed. The audits that I've been doing over the last few weeks has proved that. We've recently seen an article that was released early May saying that, it was mid-April, saying Australia is highly food secure. Out of 113 countries that were part of the indexing, Australia was rated top 12. Now, this is great for us to see and hear and learn this. But one thing I want to say is that that position didn't just appear. It takes hard work to get there. We need to manage the workload that we do every day, manage the manufacturing, monitoring, and make sure we're all doing the right thing. Most of us have a very big role and a lot of responsibility to make sure that we're keeping records, making sure that we're doing our internal audits, making sure we're training, upskilling, and testing product and doing inspections. And all of this needs to be done. And like I said, we need to make sure we keep monitoring this to maintain food safety and prevent any incidents from occurring. Interesting to know, I thought I'd share with you, Australia exports 70% of agricultural production. 86% of that is sugar, 75% is beef and veal, 73% is mutton and lamb, 72% is canola, 71% is wheat, rice 52%, dairy products 40%, fruit and nuts 31%, and pig and poultry is 5%. So being Australia exporting so many products, they need to make sure that the systems are working, making sure that we're meeting food safety requirements, not just locally, but for products we're sending overseas. So the responsibility is still there. What is a remote audit? A remote audit is an audit conducted where the auditor is not physically present on site. I think that's the simplest way I can put it. So audit continues as per normal, like they are now when we're on site. Doing a remote audit, same thing happens, just that you're not physically present on site. Why should we conduct remote audits? In the last month, I've actually conducted quite a few audits. Mid-March, I was asked to write a remote audit protocol for conducting audits online. I had a week to do that, and I spent a lot of time writing, researching, assessing, reading what was going on in the world at the time of COVID, and came up with a protocol that had been reviewed and approved. And my team and I have been rolling this out across a base of 200 in Australia and New Zealand. And I'm proud to say that they've been quite successful because a lot of time was spent in the preparation. After the protocol was written, then there was 3 weeks of planning, almost 4 weeks of planning and recording and testing and trialing. And now, since we've started doing them live online, they've been quite successful. But some of the benefits that I've noticed is basically it avoids delays. It prevents backlog of audits. If we're not doing audits now, can you imagine towards the end of the year how many audits will be needed, and it just won't be practical, and it's going to cause, issues downstream. So to avoid that, it's best not to disrupt the schedule. It enables certification to be maintained. It's supporting and enhancing and even harnessing a food safety culture on site. Everyone's taking responsibility, everybody's sharing the load, everybody's getting involved. So the changes that we are facing is actually driving and developing food safety culture with the business. It allows us to evolve as an industry. when change happens and it happens overnight, we have to adapt. We have to find measures that will work and will continue to give us the desired outcome. We just have to stop and think about this and give it time. But, you know, there are answers out there. It enables individuals to grow, learning new tools, new practices, new processes. Maintaining your audit schedule, we've already covered that. It's best to keep that running rather than leaving it to the end and then finding out that it's unachievable and it causes more distraction and undue stress. Involving the team, doing remote audits online is great because everybody can still be involved. People can dial in online. They can be working from home, working from corporate office. They can be on site. It doesn't matter where the cross-functional people are, but we can all come together online. So it allows many individuals to participate, which is great support for the auditee and the organisation that's being audited. Sharing information on the screen is great. One of the best tools that I've seen is a scanner. Having a scanner handy could just allows you to quickly scan that information and pop it up on the screen for the auditor to see. You don't even have to send any records or procedures or upload documents and emails through. It's all just seen on the day of the audit up on your screen. Live videos can be done. You can stream live on your smartphone or just use, you know, a good old-fashioned video recorder. There are tools there that you can be using. Obviously, there's some safety associated there with glass controls and making sure that you're not, what I'm trying to say is you're not watching the camera or looking at the camera rather than watching where you're going and hurting yourself. So it has to be done safely. For the auditor, you're spending less time travelling, which you could be saving up to 3-4 hours a day with travels, which in return you can spend that save time on preparing for an audit or closing out your audits, or even just clearing your emails at the end of the day and not having so much of a backlog yourself. They've proved to be very effective at the moment doing online audits. You can develop specific needs for either party. You can conduct them over a preferred time frame. If you're used to doing audits over a day and you'd like to split it up over 2 or 3 days, you can. If you are doing them over 2 days and want to do it over a day, then, you know, again, you can make the changes required to achieve that outcome. And if both parties are respecting confidentiality, then the security is tight. As you can see, there's quite a lot of benefits that I've shared with you doing these audits. And like I said, the last few weeks that I have been doing online audits, they've proved to be successful. And I would say because of the planning and the preparation, being able to plan and prepare enables you to get, you know, a desired outcome, which has been very successful. Things to watch out for would be remote online auditing is new and some people just don't like change. So they'll do whatever they can to avoid having a remote audit. Technology can slow down the process. There's so much different options to choose your platform and what program you're going to use. Choose wisely, choose carefully. At the end of the decision that you've made, you don't want to be frustrated during your audit. You don't want the line dropping out. You don't want the video to be blurry. It causes lots of unnecessary frustration. So pick carefully, think of your auditee, think of the organisations you'll be auditing as well. It's not just what's best for you. You want to make sure that it works for them and you don't want to be causing extra costs as well. So study that well, pick your platform and off you can start. Corporate policies may not allow remote audits. They might not even allow live videos. Be mindful of that. And if you are doing videos inside the facility, then maybe not all areas can be accessible in the plant. And certainly the audits can take a lot longer if you're not prepared, if you're not planned, if you're not working with the auditee prior to the audit and having that communication and just, you know, helping them. And if they need you to hold their hand through it. It's very new to them. It's new to the auditor. At the end of the day, we want to make it successful, so help them through that. Give them as much advice and information as you can. There isn't that one-on-one interaction. There's face-to-face interaction online, but it's not face-to-face in a room. And some people may not like that. You can't also read people's reactions or responses. Obviously, that's a little different than being in the room together, but I wouldn't say it's a major issue. It's just something to watch out for. Like I've already mentioned, glass controls with using a smartphone or video in the plant, and wanting to make sure you don't breach any requirements or any rules there. Record review, HACCP plans and flowchart review and live video walk. These would be the three things that I would put in the watch out bucket. I think I'd need to do quite a few more audits before I can give you my final thoughts, but some of the record reviews I've done has been done well, and some of them haven't been the best. And again, this just depends on how many records you look at. Are the records clear? Have they been scanned and put up on the line? There's a lot of factors there, but it would be something to really focus on to make sure it's done well online. The HACCP plans and flowchart. As an auditor, I always love to have both of them there in front of me so I can follow the steps of the flowchart and look at the HAT tables and the CCP tables as I go through. This can't always be done successfully online. However, if you do share the screens and have both documents up at the same time, it can be done. So just be mindful of how you manage that. And the live video walk, you might be permitted to do one, but like I said, it might be blurry. And if you can pick up all non-conformances that are present in the plan, it's yet to be confirmed. Still working through that. And if you're not allowed to do a video walkthrough, then how are you going to, review that at a later date? How will you manage that? How do you score the site fairly? If you haven't done a thorough, complete audit in the facility, in the plant, doing your external review, watching the product being made in the facility. So that would be something to review, and like I said, I think need more time before I can give you my final thoughts. Technology is amazing. It allows us to do so much. There are many platforms available. So like I said, pick carefully. Personally, I prefer Microsoft Teams. So far, my experience with that has been clear, no issues. I've been calling my auditee the day before and just doing a quick 5 minutes. Hi, can you hear me? Can you see me? Let's share the screen. And, just taking that 5 minutes the day before the audit has been so powerful because we've had no issues on the day of our audit, which has just been great. I've even audited a facility that's classed as rural, and we were still able to get through the whole audit, which is great. Using boosters if needed. There are gadgets that you can be purchasing to boost your service and help you through with service. So it might just be some study and research required on your behalf there. And like I said, testing the connection is priceless. It'll save a lot of frustration on the day of the audit. So just spend the time to do that. The security of remote audits, can they be trusted? Well, so far my experience is yes, absolutely. The security of using the online portal, as you know, it's already built in, but the confidentiality can be assured between both parties when both of you understand what the requirements are. And if you get all that sorted before your audit and you sign your confidentiality agreements and you understand what you can and can't do based on corporate policy, then you can respect that and work around that. Viewing documents can be done on screen. Just share your screen. You don't have to send information. A lot of companies are uncomfortable doing that, particularly big multinational corporate companies. They see that as their IP and they don't want to be sending that, and there really is no need. You can see that all online during the day. Obviously, when an auditor is auditing, it should just be the auditor in the room. If for whatever reason there needs to be others with the auditor, then obviously that needs to be discussed and approved before the audit. But when you tell your auditee that you are the only one in the room, then be honest about that and, be integral. Make sure that you're always honest with them, and likewise for the auditee, if they're honest with you, then it can be a very trusted process. I've written down here, honesty and trust equals integrity. So, do the right thing even when no one's watching. So who can conduct remote audits? What I've experienced is you need to know what you're doing as an auditor. Not everybody's going to like doing the online audits. The auditee role is a lot busier because they're looking for documents. They're the ones walking through. The auditor just sits for 10 to 12 hours a day. It's a long day. It's really important to schedule some breaks. Have a morning tea break for 15 minutes. Have an afternoon tea break, and do break for lunch for 30 minutes. Go outside, get some fresh air, have a bite to eat, have a comfort stop, whatever's needed. But you can't sit in front of a screen for 12 hours or even 8 or 9 hours and not stretch or move. You're going to end up with all sorts of aches. So have those scheduled breaks. And, if online auditing isn't for you as an auditor, then you don't have to do it. But it can be done quite easily if you understand what you're doing. You need to follow your program. You need to understand what the criteria is that you're auditing. And if you've been to the facility before or you know the business, it does help. It helps with you understanding the factory layout, helps understanding where they're located, understanding where their neighbouring, what their neighbours are, who they are, what they do, and just being familiar with the facility and obviously having the skill set with the product that's being manufactured and audited. If you have that experience, then you can successfully conduct an online audit. So when it comes to the standard protocols and admin, there's a lot of things that I can say here, but I've just summarised it to basically make sure you have a clear understanding of what you're auditing, understand the criteria, understand the remote audit protocol you're working towards, okay? Because different companies, different certification bodies, different regulators will have different requirements. So make sure you're familiar with what the protocol is and prepare well. Make sure you've got all your paperwork, all your support documents, all the forms that you need filled out available at your fingertips, and even fill out what you can prior to your audit, because that enables you to be on top of your game, be organised, and be waiting for the auditee to present you with information and for you to be able to read through the document that they've just presented. If you're doing that and looking for your own paperwork, looking for standards, looking for everything, it does add complications. So be as organised and as prepared as you can be. And I would say over communication with your auditees is preferred. I've always been a believer in over communicating. You can never communicate enough. Chat to your auditee beforehand, go through the framework of your protocol, go through the itinerary or the schedule of what you're going to be doing, send through your audit letter confirmation, make sure that it's clear what you'll be doing and that they've got their timetable or schedule there with the elements that will be audited and what the time is where, so they can then organise for their functional people to be logging in or dialing in when required. Have it all spelt out from start to finish. It would also wouldn't hurt for you to write yourself a list of how to manage the audit, because it is different compared to what you are used to doing, and you have to remember all the requirements. So I find for me what works best is just to write myself an itinerary from 8:30 in the morning to 5:30 in the afternoon of what I need to do, have all my documents available. I pre-fill out what I can, and I just find that my audits run very smoothly. So I would recommend that to anybody. Finalising and closing your remote audits, well, it's no different to what you would do if you're on site. Again, you need to follow your protocol that highlights what the closing requirements are, but as per our norm, you would explain what the non-conformances were, how much time they have to close it out. You'd want to make sure that during the day you've been able to close the previous audit NCRs, and that can be done online as well. I've been doing that and I haven't found any issues with that. Always remain clear and be very specific, and answer questions. And at the end of the day, when you're having your closeout meeting, make sure that, the attendance form for the opening meeting and the closing meeting have been filled out. Answer all the questions that the auditee or people from the organisation might have. Let them know the timeframes, and then obviously you'd send through a copy of the audit and the audit results at the end of the day when the audit's complete. So there's no difference there. It is the same as you would do on site. So summarising everything that I've gone through with you today with my experiences over the last 4 to 6 weeks would be my top 7 tips. Number 1, we need to move quickly and adapt to change. Don't be afraid of the change. Just adapt to the change. Sit and plan and think about, what is it that we need to achieve and how we're going to get there. It's better to over-communicate than under-communicate. Share information, help people get prepared and organised for your audit to enable you to do a great job. Remote audits should be supported as they are real-time assurance delivered remotely. Technology we can use is amazing. Like I said, embrace it. Don't be scared of it. Embrace it. The more preparation you put into your remote audit, the more success guaranteed. Be supportive of your auditee. It's a new journey we're learning together. Respect confidentiality and enforce it. Thank you for your time. I hope you receive some useful tips and have a better understanding of how to run a successful remote audit online. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or call me. My details are on the screen. Thank you so much. Keep safe and take care.
And thank you, Dijana Green, for that look at food safety and remote auditing. And that concludes this presentation.